All right. Hello, everyone. We are doing a live stream, and this is for a tornado warning in Johnson and Ellis counties. Get the screen up here. Okay, so we're watching a live tornado warning in Johnson and Ellis counties. This was a confirmed tornado back in Johnson County, and it is making its way right now through Midlothian. Let me get the link pulled up here. Apologies. Got this set up a little bit hastily just because this is the first time I've done this, and I thought this was a very severe situation, so it would be necessary to do. Let me get this link pulled up here, and then we will be ready for live stream. Okay. So right, we have a tornado warning. It is making its way basically through the city of Midlothian right now. If you are in the city of Midlothian, you need to be underground or in a lowest level interior room right now. This is a dangerous situation for the city of Midlothian. This was a confirmed tornado earlier. And let me post this on my Twitter. Again, apologies, this was a little bit hastily set up, but I'm trying to make sure everyone knows about this situation because it is a very dangerous situation. Earlier, this tornado was confirmed by spotters. Right now it is not, but it is still, as you can see here, this is a thing we call velocity, right on the rest of my screen. This is a product we call velocity. And right where those reds and greens meet, I'm going to pull up the radar here. These reds and greens meet. This is right just south of the city of Midlothian. This is a very concerning area because these are essentially, your reds and greens are winds going in two different directions. When you see an area with your red very strong going into almost yellow, and your green also very, well, not quite as strong, but still strong enough, that makes us concerned about a circulation being developed. And that is why the National Weather Service in Fort Worth has issued a tornado warning. Now, those of you in Johnson County that saw the tornado earlier, you are now under no threat. I know you are still technically under the tornado warning, but in Johnson County, that includes, of course, Cleburne, all of you, Alvarado. I know Venus, you were under the warning earlier. You now have no threat. It is now just for Ellis County, and that it is Midlothian we're watching right now. It is basically going over the city of Midlothian, and we are right now, it's basically going down, just straight down 287. And this is still a very concerning situation. Our newest scan just came in, and it's a very concerning situation. I'm going to switch over to a product we call reflectivity, and this is the product that everyone knows. It really shows the rate of rainfall here. Well, it's a little more scientific than that, but essentially the easiest way to explain it is this is where you're going to see the heaviest rainfall. And right where you see that bend, that's a feature we call, that we see most times. When we see that feature on radar, it really tells us that this is something that is a bit of a concerning development for tornado development. Right here, I'm not sure if you can see my mouse, but it's basically just north of the city of Midlothian right here. And I'll switch back to velocity because this is winds, and when you're seeing a tornado, you want to see these winds basically going in a clockwise direction, or, well, depending on which hemisphere you're in, of course, but you want to see them circulating around, and these two colors basically mean winds going in different directions, and right now that is being shown just northeast of the city of Midlothian. So again, this is 287 right here, that goes through Midlothian west and east, and then this is Highway 67 that's going through Midlothian north and south. If you live to the northeast of the city of Midlothian in Johnson County, if you are to the east of Highway 67, to the north of Highway 287, that is our main tornadic threat right now, where we have the area of rotation. This is our biggest concern. I'm going to just sort of look out here for the cities to the east. This does seem to be moving a little bit due east from the National Weather Service warning text. We have, it is moving basically just due east at 45 miles per hour. Had a little bit of a southeast component earlier, but it seems to be basically just going east. So that's going to put it towards the I-35E corridor here over the next roughly 30 minutes. So those of you in Red Oak, you really need to start thinking about where your lowest level room is, basically on the first floor of your house. Put as much walls and windows between you and the tornado as possible. A good idea is a bathroom. That's probably one of the best ideas, or a closet that is away from your outside walls, away from your outside windows. It's an interior room at close to the center of a house as you can get. Or if you're in a building, same rule applies. So that's going to be the city of Red Oak. You're going to be needing to think about that as well. If you live north of the city of Waxahachie, it doesn't appear to be a major threat for the city of Waxahachie right now. but these tornadoes can shift, so you are in the warning. So at this stage of the night, because it's dark outside, it's harder to see these tornadoes. It is a good idea for you to just, I would say be safe than sorry. Take your tornado precautions right now. If it does shift, you'll be happy that you did. If it doesn't, well, you took a few minutes out of your life. It's still a way better thing to have taken those precautions, going to that lowest level interior room just in case. But running here. Alrighty, I am not sure if we are connected at the moment, but I am going to make sure that we are. And waiting for YouTube to join us. Okay, so again, apologies for the cutout there, but we are back online and we are watching this growing situation here. It does look, I will say, this is fortunate for us here, it does look like it has weakened a little bit. So I would say that the concern is now more for the city of Waxahachie and Midlothian to be of a straight line winds threat. Particularly Midlothian now, it's not as big of a concern for you because it's past, but Waxahachie, the concern for rotation, it's going to be closer to Avila and Red Oak. That's basically on the far north side of Ellis County, almost clipping Dallas County here where that circulation could be. I'm not sure if they're going to continue this tornado warning here just because the circulation has significantly, it's significantly weakened compared to earlier. So I would say, and apologies, my camera, I just realized my camera is not in the most ideal place. Here we are. So yes, we are watching this circulation. It's a little bit weaker than it was earlier, so that's a good sign for us here right now. But right now, if you are still in the cities of Avila, Oakleaf, and Red Oak, basically right along the border, far north side of Johnson County, even if you are in the far south side of Dallas County, far south of DeSoto, far southeast Cedar Hill, far southwest Lancaster, I would say it'd be a good idea to take your tornado precautions at the moment. But again, this is a bit of circulation that is a lot less concerning than it was earlier. That's at least all I can say for us right now. In fact, it just decreased a little bit even more. So a very good sign for us here. We had a very bad situation earlier when it was back in Johnson County. We had a confirmed tornado on the ground, and it was there for at least several minutes, and it's definitely the strongest circulation we've seen tonight. The only confirmed tornado warning yet. We will have to go back and see what the Weather Service does for their reports and if we've had any other tornadoes. But the biggest concern at the moment seems to be developing into a straight line winds threat for those of you in Ellis County. Again, I don't want to downplay the tornado threat because these are the types of storms that can very well spin up a tornado very quickly. Not trying to hype or try to make something up that isn't there. I want to be truthful whenever I'm doing these weather forecasts. So I'm just telling you how it is. We have a situation where we had a tornado earlier. I would highly doubt there is one there now just because of how weak the system is at the moment. I think that we're mostly towards a straight line winds threat. Now, when I say straight line winds, what I mean is the storm is essentially pushing these very strong winds right towards those of you in the path of it. And these winds can be as strong as an F0, EF0, EF1, maybe even EF2 tornado, depending on how strong these winds are, probably on the lower end of that scale. But I want to really emphasize that straight line winds can be as damaging as an actual tornado at times. So just because there is no tornado, we want to still make sure you're taking your precautions. You're still, you're going to that lowest level interior room. You're going away from outside walls. If you're outside, you're going inside. And you are putting as much space between the storm and you. Because even though it's not a tornado, if you're in a place where these winds are really strong, it can do enough damage to knock some parts of your house down. If you are in a house that has less sturdy construction. And that's a good point to make out also, because if you are in a mobile home, if you're in a situation like this, particularly when there's a tornado warning, but even when there's a severe thunderstorm warning, it's really a good idea to try and find someone you know that has a sturdy house construction, one with a foundation that's not a mobile home, because particularly in tornado warnings, mobile homes can actually be picked up, and that's not something you want to be in because that's a very dangerous situation. Anything that's not a sturdy construction of a house, that's also a concern because they can very easily get toppled by a tornado or strong winds. So it's just a good idea to know a neighbor, someone in your city that you can go to within a minute's notice and go there, be able to go to them and shelter there just for the time of the storm. I know that sometimes it's a little bit of a chore to get outside of your house and have to go walk down the street, with only a few seconds notice, but if you have 30 seconds to get there, I would highly suggest you do in a situation where there is a tornado warning. Just because, we have to be safe. We have to make sure everyone's being safe in this scenario. No one's being left out. If you live in a mobile home, you really need to take those precautions. But again, I'm not that concerned about a tornado right now anymore. I was a lot earlier. That's the reason why I started this live stream, just because this definitely at one point was the strongest tornado-producing storm we have seen all night tonight in Dallas-Fort Worth. But for the time being right now, definitely not as concerned for those of you in Ellis County. Now, I want to emphasize, this is a situation where we can see spin-ups all night tonight, so if you are anywhere in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, particularly east of this line, I do want to go back to the classic radar so everyone can see the setup here. If you're east of this line, or south or east of this line, if you're in Hillsborough, if you're in Athens, if you are in Sulphur Springs, if you're in Canton, those are the cities basically going to get hit next within the next hour or so. If you're anywhere in those areas, what you really need to do is have several ways to receive warnings tonight. Because these storms can not only pack a punch with their winds and hail, but they can produce spin-up tornadoes. It's quite likely that you will be asleep by the time these storms get through. Particularly if you're off far to the east, say you are not just Kaufman, not just Canton, but you're all the way in Tyler, and these storms will still have a chance of producing maybe a spin-up tornado by there. I would say it's less, but there's still a chance, and you want to make sure you're safe. So what I would highly suggest is, have your phone, first of all, turn your wireless emergency alerts on. I know some people turn them off because they do get annoying at times, but these are the situations where you're going to want to use them. You're going to want to make sure you are alerted. So have your phone's alerts turned on. Make sure they're not turned off. You're going to want to also have maybe a TV meteorologist on your TV. Tune to Channel 8, Channel 4, Channel 5, Channel 11. Have one of them on tonight. Doesn't matter who. They're all good. Turn one of them on. Make sure you have them on in the background. You're apprised of these situations whenever they happen because they will talk you through them like I'm doing here, and they will essentially just tell you, if there's a tornado on the ground or not, what you need to do. Those are important situations. But that's another way. Turn on your TV meteorologist. Also, have a no-weather radio. If you have one, make sure it's turned on, and that's basically all you have to do. If you don't, now is probably not the time to go out and get one, but I would say tomorrow, go out and get one because they can save your life. No-weather radios are programmed to actually turn on right when a tornado warning or any other warning is issued, and you can program it to just have tornado warnings or however, but they can really save your life because these tornado warnings can strike at night and they can be dangerous situations. You can find some cheaply at your local grocery store or your local hardware store. It doesn't matter what brand. You don't have to get fancy with them. I would just highly suggest getting one. But yes, those are some 3 ways to get warnings. Another way is follow the National Weather Service on Twitter or whatever social media. They are a very reputable source for alerts, and also they are a reputable source on other social media platforms. But that's a situation for those of you ahead of the line. You want to make sure you are staying tuned to alerts, particularly through the night. And the one thing I want to make sure everyone knows is you're going to really be asleep at some point. I'm broadcasting from Tallahassee because I'm a weather producer, a student here at Florida State University, but I am a native from Dallas-Fort Worth, so that's why I want to make sure everyone knows what's going on here. So you guys are an hour back, so it's actually 11:34 p.m. your time. But by the time these storms make it to you in Kaufman, Athens, Tyler, all the way out there, it's going to be later. It's probably 2, 3, 4 a.m. So you're just going to make sure these alerts wake you up. Because if they don't wake you up, it doesn't matter if you have alerts. You're not going to be able to get your family ready in time to go into that interior room. Right now, I'm just still looking at the situation here for the tornado warning in Ellis County. That goes until 12:45, or sorry, 11:45 your time. And I'm not really concerned about a tornado at the moment. I'm just seeing mostly of a big, heavy, straight line winds threat. So those of you right now, City of Waxahachie, you probably already just felt the punch. Palmer, just east of Red Oak, all of you those over there, it's getting towards the I-45 corridor. If you're on I-45 and you are south of Lancaster and north of Ennis, you're going to feel this punch here soon. So I would just, I would suggest pulling off the road at this point, just because of twofold. If there are strong winds, you're probably not going to be driving in that, and it's going to be heavy rain too. Here's the classic radar look. Really seeing this look here, that's a mean storm. And if you're on 35E, south of Waxahachie, north of Italy, anywhere in that area, you're going to want to stop and pull off now as well. 45, anywhere south of Lancaster and north of Ennis, you're also probably going to want to pull off now. This is going to be a mean storm no matter if it has a tornado or not, but I am still, I would say, velocity, the winds aren't really concerning for me at the moment. That's what I've been saying for the last 5 minutes that we've been streaming. But I will still say that the reflectivity is a little bit concerning. This little feature right here, just southeast of Red Oak, is what we call a notch. It's just north of Pecan Hill. That area is what we call a notch. You see these winds sort of flowing in there and forming what could be a tornado. Right now I'm not going to say there is, but that's where we see that area for development if it does happen. It's going to be right in that notch. Basically, how you form a tornado is you need winds from the ground to flow in and form this, growing, spinning, big tornado. And to do that, and what you see on radar is a thing called a bounded weak echo region. That's essentially a sciencey term for looking at these areas on the radar that don't look so mean, those areas that aren't quite as red and orange. Again, I'm trying to explain it in not quite so sciencey of a way, but that area right over here, just southeast of Red Oak, where you see those areas that are bound up by pretty high, those reds, right by, I'm going to make sure my mouse is pointing in the right area, so if I'm not pointing in the wrong area, let me pull this up here. Yeah, right over here. So this area right here, these reds on each side here, and you can see they're surrounded by this area of like blue and green. This is a weaker area. If you look at a radar and you see this, you think, whoa, that's a lot weaker here. That's because these winds are flowing in there really quickly. There's no storm right there because the winds are flowing in to feed that storm that's over here. And that, again, is where we see that those winds flowing in to form what could be a spin-up tornado. So that's the main concern there. I just wanted to point that out because that is a feature we talk about a lot on broadcasts. Whenever I'm on FSU Weather, we talk about that as well. And again, we are watching a potential tornadic situation southeast of Red Oak. It's going to be basically right east of Pecan Hill. Not the biggest concern at the moment. I'm not seeing anything close to a circulation, but I want to say those of you and there you go, the tornado warning has just expired. So it's a good situation. I was about to say, those of you in Ellis County, you're pretty much clear at the moment. Particularly east of I-30, or west, of I-35E. East of I-35E, I would still say continue watching just because there is a chance of a tornado forming, but those of you west of I-35E, not the biggest concern. But there is still a severe thunderstorm warning, and there are several, or two actually, not several, two, in the Metroplex right now. Looking at the broader situation, we do have more severe thunderstorms out to our east, but the biggest concern for the Metroplex is this sort of area of storms, south of the Metroplex, and the biggest area, probably this storm in Ellis County right here. This other warning is a little bit older, so it includes areas that aren't really big concerns at the moment, like back in Cleburne, those of you in Burleson, that area, Johnson County, Tarrant County, you're clear at this point, so you're fine. It'll probably be trimmed by the Weather Service here in a minute or two. DeSoto, the I-35 East South area in southern Dallas County, you're probably still going through it. I would say that severe thunderstorm warning is warranted for those of you in southern Dallas County, but Ellis is where the biggest punch is going to be. Winds, like I said earlier, are going to be strong here. These winds are going to be up to 60 to 70 miles per hour. And I know, as many of you know, when you're driving on 35 or the Sam Rayburn Tollway or whatever highway you're driving in DFW, that's basically the speed you're going, 60, 70 miles per hour. Now, obviously, if traffic's happening, that's not the case. But imagine there's no traffic on the highway, how fast you're going. Well, that's how fast the winds are coming. They're going to hit you at that speed. And I'm sure you really wouldn't like that to happen if a car did that. Not going to quite do as much damage because you don't have cars flying at everyone, but it's still wind flying at that speed. So keep that in mind, particularly if you have objects, signs, loose chairs that you often keep outside. If you're in the city of Ennis, now would be a really good time to take those in. You have just enough time, I would say probably about 5 to 10 minutes, to take what you need to go inside and take your precautions. Italy also as well, you basically have the same amount of time. Rice, also, you have a little bit more lead time as well. But back in Waxahachie, you're going through it right now. I would say definitely don't step outside in Waxahachie or Red Oak or DeSoto, because all of you are really going through the thick of it right now. You have a very strong thunderstorm that is going over Red Oak right now. And we are continuing to watch the chance of hail as well. I would say that right now the biggest concern is for me, and if I were down in Ellis County, it would probably not be for hail. You still have a chance of hail, probably around 1 inch. And that's definitely, again, a concern, I would say. You want to make sure your cars are, at this point, excuse me, if you're in, particularly if you're in the city of Ennis, if you're in the city of Italy, Bardwell, want to make sure those cars are inside. You only have about 2 or 3 minutes at this point, maybe 4 or 5 to spare. Get those cars inside those garages if you have them. If you don't, you need to find a covered area that's right next to your house. Like I said, you don't have a lot of time for these things. So you can't go out and, no, well, I'm going to drive over to the parking garage in the center of the city, and it's going to take me 10 minutes. You're going to be stuck in the middle of the storm, and you're really going to wish you didn't do that. And at the end of the day, if you don't have a lot of time to go and do that, I would just say stay home, because what's most important here is your life. You don't want to be struck by lightning. You don't want to be caught in water. So if you're driving right now and you're listening to this, want to make sure you turn around, don't drown, don't go towards a creek that's even got water that's 2 or 3 inches. Doesn't look like a lot. You want to make sure you still don't go into that, because they can be moving quite quickly, and only 6 inches can move a big pickup truck. So not a good idea to drive in flooding water at this point. We're in a drought right now in DFW, so all of this rain is just coming down so quickly that, yes, some of it's being soaked up by the ground, but we haven't had a heavy rain like this in at least a solid week. So this ground is really, the water is starting to flood everywhere. And I know there were some earlier reports, I believe in Flower Mound, of water in a neighborhood actually getting up to flooding stage. So again, in DFW, flooding is a big concern, and I'm going to address that flash flood warning up there in a second. But again, for those of you at the leading edge of the storm system, you're in Ellis County. That's the biggest area that we're concerned about. And there is still a chance of a spin-up tornado, so I don't want to discount that. But the main threat is really transitioning towards this high winds threat. So high winds, some hail, maybe a spin-up tornado. That's basically the story for those of you in Ellis County. And for any of these storms across the DFW area, if they do start to get going, severe, that's going to be your main threats, is from order, your high winds that are going to be basically to the level of a weak tornado, and in some cases if they get really strong. Your hail, that could be up to 1 inch, maybe even some more, but this is not the environment that we usually see for large hail. I know a lot of us here in DFW are pretty traumatized by the sign of hail, because we've seen big hail before. We've seen 2-3 inch hail, and we've seen the damage it does. Not really going to see that situation tonight. Again, hail is never a good thing. Even if it's 1 inch, it's still a big concern. You want to make sure you're staying safe from that, staying indoors. But it's not the 2 or 3 inch hail that we saw back up in North Tarrant County, I believe it was last year. So that's not our biggest concern. It's high winds, maybe a spin-up tornado, some hail. We do have some reports there was an amateur radio report of 1 inch hail. It was in central Dallas at Walnut Hill and Hillcrest. So that's here in central Dallas. We had 2 more 1-inch hail reports back with this storm that's now in Ellis County. Back when it was near Crowley and Burleson, and this is in northern Johnson County. 2 1-inch hail reports. And then in Midlothian, a thunderstorm wind gust of, or a thunderstorm wind damage, excuse me. There was some damage in Midlothian, and there was an 18-wheeler that was flipped over at Loves and Midlothian. It was at US 67 and Main Street. So we're seeing damage. I mean, this, even if a tornado isn't on the ground, these wind gusts can be big producers of damage. So you're going to make sure that you are still continuing to stay tuned for these weather phenomena, even if they aren't tornadic, because these wind events can be very damaging, even if it's not tornadic. So I want to really emphasize that. We're going to do a look here just to make sure there isn't really anything trying to spin up, and I don't see anything. I'm not going to say there isn't going to be anything in the future. I'm sure if you were watching weather earlier with Collin County and you saw that storm in the north and it sort of weakened, and then it got really picked back up again near the east of Collin County as it made its way further east. These storms can do that a lot. They can be very strong, and then they can sort of cycle. They get weaker again, and then they strengthen again. That's why I really want to emphasize that it's important that you're staying tuned, even if it looks like it's sort of weakening, because they can be sneaky, unfortunately, and these storms can re-strengthen, particularly with the tornadic effect. That's a big concern for us. So I said I was going to address these flash flood warnings. As I said earlier, if you're anywhere in the Metroplex right now and you're nearby a creek or a stream that maybe doesn't even usually flood, well, right now we do have a flash flooding situation here. 2 flash flood warnings out, including parts of southeast Denton County. This includes Louisville, this includes Flower Mound, this includes Lake Louisville. Doesn't quite include Denton though. Collin County, this includes all of metropolitan Collin County. This includes Plano, this includes Frisco, Allen, McKinney, the Colony, all of those of you in metropolitan Collin County, and then rural Collin County, out towards, I believe this does not quite get to Van Alstyne, but it does include Farmersville and Princeton and Lucas and all of Lake Lavon. So I'm naming these places. If you hear your city called, make sure you are not driving towards, if you see any water ponding on the road that looks like it's, it might be fast moving, it might be more than 2 or 3 inches, even if it's less than that, I would just say be cautious tonight, because these roads are going to be wet, and we already saw in Flower Mound a situation where there was a significant amount of water that was ponding there. So again, if it doesn't look like it's a lot tonight, but even anytime, but particularly tonight, you need to just err on the side of caution. As the National Weather Service says, they like to say it a lot, turn around, don't drown. If you feel like the situation could be suspicious, where you see water, just take those precautions anyway. Even if you feel like it might be excessive, just find another street. You'll be happy you did, because if it happens to be a few inches of water, doesn't look like a lot, it's moving quick, it can really do damage. Particularly even a big car or a pickup truck can be swept away by 6 inches of water. And that's not a lot. That's like about this much of water. And from far away in a car, that really doesn't look like a lot. So it's really important to remember that these events particularly these flash flooding events might not look like a lot, but just err on the side of caution. I would say if you're anywhere in DFW, just err on the side of caution tonight. At this time of night, where it's 11:46, if you don't have anything important to do, just stay home tonight. Tomorrow will be a nice weather day. Go and get that done. If you need to go shopping, go to Kroger, go to Tom Thumb, you can do that tomorrow. You don't need to do that tonight. You can wait, unless it's very serious. And if it is, like I said, you can find an alternate route. You can turn around and don't drown. There's always alternate routes. We have a huge street grid in the Metroplex. There's another way to get there. And if it's going to save you 2 or 3 minutes to go through that flooded path, it's going to be worth your life to take those 2 or 3 extra minutes to go another way that is safer. So yeah, that's really important for all of you flash flood warnings. Again, that's all of Dallas County. In the entire city of Dallas, all of Dallas County, also including Capel. I said that weird. Capel? Yeah. Including Addison, including Garland, Richardson, all of you in there. This also includes parts of, or basically the entire city of Irving, Grand Prairie, DeSoto. I'm going around the entire county. If you're in Dallas County, this warning applies to you, the entire county. It applies to all of metropolitan Collin County, as I named those cities earlier: McKinney, Plano, Allen, Frisco. This also includes areas of Lavon, Murphy, parts of Richardson and the city of Dallas there as well. Back in Dallas County, this also includes Farmers Branch and Carrollton. In Denton County, this also includes Carrollton, Louisville, Flower Mound, and even up here, I believe it even includes Little Elm. Yes, it does. Most of the Lake Louisville area. So if you are around Lake Louisville, Lake Lavon, any of these lakes around here, they have so many creeks and streams that go out from the lakes that go over to our roads, and where once this water really starts to get ponding, you can have this water going over the bridge, and it creates that dangerous situation. So I really want to emphasize, those of you in the Metroplex, stay safe tonight. Don't take unnecessary risks. Our major threat for wind is right now going into eastern and southern Ellis County. So we have this area right out here is going into Ennis and Italy right now. Those of you in Ennis and Italy need to be taking your precautions right now. Again, this can basically be equivalent to a gust from a weak tornado. So best to just take your tornado precautions. Go to that room, lowest level interior room, away from outside walls. A bathroom or a closet is a great idea. Just go there now. You only take 2 or 3 minutes. You only have to wait there for that long. Once this passes, you'll be fine. Ennis, Italy, and it's also going to include Bardwell. This is now southeast of Waxahachie. So in Waxahachie, you're still having heavy rain. You're still having, I'm sure it's really coming down for you in Waxahachie right now, particularly the southern end, but you are getting better right now. I would say your conditions are going to improve. My main concern, if there is a tornadic threat, would be southeast of Ferris. It's going to be east of Palmer, and it's right in this area, and far northeast of Ellis County. Again, I'm not the most concerned for anything tornadic right now, and we might end the stream here in a minute or two, because, again, this is not a huge concern for me at the moment. But just because there is no tornadic threat does not mean that we aren't concerned about winds, high winds, heavy rain, all these things that come with a tornado situation, or a severe weather situation, in the DFW Metroplex. Again, this is an all hazards weather event, not just tornadoes are watching. High winds, hail, heavy rain, they all do damage. They all need to be taken seriously. Alright, so I am going to wrap things up here. So what I'm going to do is take a larger view. I'm going to just look back here to see if we have anything suspect tornadic-wise, and I'm not seeing anything major. The Weather Service hasn't issued anything, which means that there is not an active tornado threat, but they do have a tornado watch-out, which means that they are still concerned that there is a broad chance of tornadoes across those of you still in the watch area. And it's going to be, I believe the watch still is out for the entire area, but the area of biggest concern for any spin-up tornadoes is south and east of this line here. So, as I said earlier, it's going to be Hillsborough, Athens, Corsicana. If it makes its way to Tyler, Canton, anywhere in that area, Palestine, Gun Barrel City, those of you out south and east, it's going to be getting into Kaufman soon. But Canton, Athens, Corsicana, Hillsborough, that's who's up next. West, Fairfield, Palestine, Rusk, that whole area is going to be up next from this system. We have 1 severe thunderstorm warning active and 2 flash flood warnings active for the Metroplex. We do have actually 2 more severe thunderstorm warnings out here. 1 active in Texas and 1 active in Arkansas. And this also includes parts of Arkansas, actually. I believe this one actually may have expired because I don't see it in my system anymore. But no matter, all these storms are still threats. If you are not clear of this line yet, you really need to be still taking those precautions, making sure you are watching severe weather warnings. You have several ways to receive them, including watching local broadcast meteorologists, including watching Twitter, but also very important, having your phone's alerts on and having a no-weather radio if you have one. Those are great ways to receive warnings. Our major threats for tonight, as I keep emphasizing, spin-up tornadoes, which are essentially tornadoes that can form at a moment's notice. That's why you need to be ready to go to that lowest level interior room, away from outside walls and windows. A closet or a bathroom is best on the first floor of your building. That's where you need to go. Go there whenever a warning is issued. That's one threat. Another threat is high winds. I would say go to that tornado shelter even if high winds, a severe thunderstorm warning is issued. That's a good precaution. That's at the very least, you need to not be outside, but a tornado shelter, that kind of room, lowest level interior room like a closet or a bathroom, is a better idea personally, even if it's just a high wind, severe thunderstorm warning. That's another thing. We are also watching the chance for hail. We're seeing basically 1-inch hail as our main threat in Ellis County, lesser hail everywhere else, but if some of these storms really do get going, we will see a higher risk. We're also seeing 2 flash flood warnings, so turn around, don't drown, don't take that extra risk that you don't need to. If it takes 2 or 3 extra minutes to get to where you're going, by taking an alternate route that goes away from the creek or stream, just do it. It's going to be way better. At this time of night, it's not really going to matter if you're there 2 or 3 minutes extra, so you just really need to take those precautions. Yeah, so again, those are our main threats. I'm not seeing anything tornadic. I'm going to take one final check before I turn off the stream here, because I make sure I'm doing my due diligence. Again, I'm not seeing anything huge at the moment, nothing too concerning, but the entire line is concerning. So again, that's why I'm emphasizing you want to make sure you have ways to receive alerts tonight. If you're in the Dallas-Fort Worth media market, that includes, of course, DFW, includes these counties south of here, south of the line. I would highly suggest turning, if you have not yet, to any of the 4 major media channels, including KDFW Fox 4, KXS NBC 5, WFAA Channel 8 ABC, KTVT CBS 11. Those are all great channels, and they will keep you informed throughout the night if a tornado warning pops up. Again, these things can pop up very quickly, so it's very important that you are staying tuned at all times. So I want to make sure that everyone's properly informed. Again, it is sort of calming down, but I don't want to say, well, I put enough sense of false complacency here. We do still have a chance, particularly south and east of this line, where there is a threat. Again, thank you for joining me. This is a sort of inaugural thing here. If we do have more severe weather threats in the DFW Metroplex, I will maybe do this more often. We'll have to see. I thank you all for watching, and make sure you're staying tuned to your warnings tonight for a potential continuation of the severe weather situation. Good night.